Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for diving into the mind of today's special patient for the operation. His name is VekL. He's an animator, an evangelist, and a Christian apologist. Let us experience the surgery as we explore what makes VekL VekL. Welcome to the program, VekL.
Thank you. I'm glad to be a patient. I mean, a guest, a patient. I mean, a guest. All right.
It can go both ways.
All right.
Yep. All right, so let's first get the introductions. So, what exactly do you do? We know that your profile picture is an animation character from a show you do called 12 that you do the animation for, and you do some of the voice, most of the voices probably for as well. But what exactly does VekL like to do?
Yeah. Pretty much what you see me doing on YouTube. That's my passion. My drawings, and also Christian apologetics too. Just the defending the faith and just talking about God in general. So that's those are pretty much my passions there.
Mm.
Yep. That's what makes me tick.
All right then. So, what made you decide to start out with your ministry on would you consider you starting on YouTube or Google Plus? I mean, there's some people that like to say, Google Plus is all I do, but they don't think, YouTube is connected. So, but some like me just wanted to do YouTube, and we just happen to go through Google Plus. Do you consider yourself both, or do you mainly prefer to use one or the other for your ministry?
Yeah. To me, they since they're so connected, to me it doesn't really make a difference. So I mean, yeah, obviously you post the videos on YouTube and people get connected through G Plus to see them or to make comments on them. So yeah, I mostly make the videos. The majority of the videos that I've made, I'll put on the channel are either mostly for myself, so I can remember what it is that I believe, and also in case in the future I have a different position, I can go back and see what I used to believe and compare it to what I currently believe. Um, but uh, but other than that, I've had also a lot of people, not trying to toot my own horn here. I give all the praise to God, but I've had a couple of believers here and there that have thanked me in person, in private, and they've just, given God the praise for the teachings that I've put on. Uh, yes, and because some of the stuff if I put something on video on my channel, it's probably because I'm not aware of anyone else touching on it on that topic. So primarily the reason for me doing the 12 series is because if I had the money, I would make it a live action movie. But since I haven't seen anything done exactly in this fashion, at least not that I know of. I know there's the Left Behind books, and then there's some other little snippets of cartoons here and there on YouTube. But I've never seen a series done in the same way that I'm doing the 12 series. So that's, again, going back to why I post these videos, is because I would like to see something like that. And I'm not aware of anything like that myself. So,
No. So let us discuss the show 12. 12, if I'm correct, and you can correct me if on this if I get anything wrong, 12 seems to be a story about the people that are left behind during the time of what would someone consider the rapture. There's the group that's left behind. They're stayed together. Two of the people in the group, however, are atheists. I think the Chinese guy's name is Mao, and then of course you have VekL, who is the character that's used for your profile picture, and they're trying to survive the rapture that's under the New World Order, but they have a different name. Can you explain further on the story?
yeah, sure. The series 12 takes place during the last 12 hours before the return of Christ, and it centers around a group of 12 people who are on a journey from New York City to Jerusalem. So I try to keep the story simple. And within, as you stated, within the group of 12 people, there is two that are non-believers. One is Mao, who's actually Korean, by the way.
Oh,
I know he's got a Chinese first name, but yeah, his name is Mao, and then there's VekL, of course. So actually the story kind of, as the story progresses, you'll see that these two uh, tend to be the center, major focus of the rest of the story, as you'll see later on in the episodes to come. But uh, as far as the rapture is concerned, yeah, there's already been some people getting on me about it. Some people wondering what my position is on the rapture.
mm,
I take the post-trib position more than I do the pre-trib. I'm still a little bit on the fence because I hear what I believe to be decent, somewhat decent arguments from both sides, but I'm more convinced of the post-trib position. So, and
so
that's
what
kind
is
of what
post trib for some of those that don't know? What is the post tribulation position?
Yeah, well, even within that camp, there's different names for it too. There's pre-wrath, but basically, what it is just the fact that the rapture won't occur. The rapture of the church won't occur until after the persecution of the church. So,
Mm,
meaning that the church, the saints will be here, will be persecuted, will go through the tribulation, and then after that, Christ will come and gather his saints from the graves and rapture those that are alive, and then the judgment of God upon the earth. So that's the post-trib position, and that's pretty much where I stand.
all right. I
Yeah.
noticed the animation is definitely, of course, some people are going to call it amateur, and you know, you're just one of those people that starts out. But noticing the animation, it does seem to be very good uh, with how it connects to the sounds, especially in a certain combat scene that I won't spoil for those who do want to try to watch 12. But I noticed that while it has its good, distinct VekL animation style, I'm curious, is there any animation styles that influenced VekL?
Oh yeah, absolutely. If anybody who's a big anime fan could look at my work and say, "Oh, it's trying to be anime," I like to call my art style an American, I guess, because it's kind of like an American trying to be anime and just failing miserably at it.
Have you
That's
heard
the
about the? There
reality.
has been a revolution. I know that you're not one of the first. Have you heard of the guy? What's his name? Monty Have you heard of him?
No, no.
You should check him out. He did a series called Ruby that was on Rooster Teeth, and it's CGI based anime kind of thing. He was trying to do his own American anime style, and that's what they were going to call it because it had the same elements, the same plot, and they so far it's gone 2 seasons, but we're worried about the third season because the he passed away recently. So,
Oh,
but
I'll
yeah,
have to look into that.
yeah,
But the artist that really inspired me though the most, to be honest with you, I keep forgetting his name. I think his last name is Lee. There's a lot of artists out there with the last name Lee. Uh, but he does the art for a lot of the Street Fighter video games. So if for any of you who play Street Fighter, you see like the art in when you buy the game, you see on the cover the art with the characters with the really huge feet and huge hands, and I kind of like that a little bit over exaggerated style with the anatomy of the figures that they do. And that's I just love the way it looks because it just looks like he's just going all out. The whole his style just says to me, I love to draw. That's what it is. And because I used to be very precise with the human anatomy when I draw, but now I'd say, you know what, life is too short, and I really actually like the fact that this guy is so free with anatomy, with going all out with a little bit of exaggeration with certain body parts. Really big feet, really big hands. With certain, depending on who he's drawing. Or a really skinny character. So, and that's kind of the route that I want to go, and that's what really inspired me. I got to remember his name, but he does a lot of. If you look at the drawings, like of a lot of the Street Fighter characters, like Ryu, Ken, Sagat, and stuff like that. Yeah, that's what
yes.
inspired me. Yeah.
If some of y'all want to bring that up and probably mention it in the comments, y'all are free with y'all's internet. Y'all can Google this stuff up. We have at the internet for these kinds of reasons. But let's go on to the next topic. How does VekL apply apologetics? I know I've seen him in Nadia's Hangouts applying this stuff. He's been in several other places. And some of the topics I've seen him cover is concerning the morality of God. And of course, since I guess he's African American, that based on what people have said, they talk about slavery. Slavery, God's just in that kind of concept. Is that mainly one of the arguments that you focus on, or is there also more to your apologetics?
Oh yeah, I try to talk about a lot of different things. The only reason why I talk about slavery so much is because a lot of atheists in G plus really don't have anything legitimate to bring up regarding contradictions to the Bible. So the majority of atheists that bring up the topic, that's pretty much all they know about, is because they it's easy for them to say something that they don't like about the Bible, so they try to pick the most obvious thing, which is slavery. And so they bring that in the argument, thinking that that we're going to justify it. So, but yeah, I do talk about a great deal of other things. If you see me and Nadia's hang out a lot, you'll see I do try to touch on other things. Nadia's always bringing up verses that I believe that she's taken out of context, and I usually try to step up and try to bring it to a different light.
Well, we always need people to do that. We need to. Some people don't understand the text, like in Acts chapter 8, I believe. There was the eunuch that, forget what was his name. Was it Philip that met the
Yeah,
eunuch?
it was Philip. Yep.
Yeah,
Philip, Ethiopian eunuch. Yeah.
and the Ethiopian eunuch didn't understand the passage in Isaiah that he was reading, and it took Philip having to help him out. You think you're sort of being like Philip in this case? You're helping people with what they're reading?
Well, I I guess it all depends on which environment I'm in. I'm mostly in an environment where I'm defending the Word of God rather than expounding it. So, and I get that because the word apologia, which is where we get the word apologetics from, is the apologetics is expressed all throughout the New Testament, primarily by the Apostle Paul. We see it in Acts chapter 9, Acts chapter 17, 18, 19, 20, 22. All these passages, even in some of Paul's epistles, we see Paul talking about, defending the faith, or him actually performing apologetics. So it's a good thing.
I would like to point out one thing. I noticed in your there's a picture that you had posted or shared on your profile was concerning how many coincidences does it take until one concedes that there is no such thing. And one of them, it was the first one, shows what the Bible says, Isaiah 40, 22, and it states in the Bible that it's a circle, but people now have taken it to mean a sphere. Science back then said it was a flat disk. Science now says it's a sphere when
Okay.
the picture it says it was a sphere. Now this is also advertising another hangout going for the I'm Right You're Wrong show, and this is going to be starting in a few minutes with Redline and Jeranism. Jeranism, I'm not sure of his religious beliefs. Am I cutting off, by the way?
No, I can hear you.
It's just my camera looked a little pale on my
So
side.
So your question? What was your question? I'm sorry.
Like, what's your view on the concept? Do you think that because Jeranism is one who might be a Christian if he's debating an atheist in this. He believes that the earth is flat, and I've met other Christians that say because it says there's a circle in the Bible, that automatically means the earth is a flat circular disc.
Right.
Do you take that view, or do you apply any apologetics to explain?
Yeah, I do. I don't think the way the term people, when they're reading scripture, they have to take into consideration what's called etymology. And for those of you who don't know what that term means, I'll just put in real basic layman's terms. It's just basically understanding the way a language, the way a group of words are used in the context of a certain language. So, for instance, if I try to tell a joke in English and then have it translated into Spanish, it may lose its flavor because that joke originally originated in an English-speaking culture, and the Spanish-speaking audience may not understand it or get the joke because of its origin and because of the language that's used, and same vice versa. So in the same way, we can look at words like circle as it's used in the Hebrew. It may not necessarily, and I don't think, based on what I know, does not necessarily mean a flat shape. Uh, when somebody says circle just means a flat, like a flat ring that you draw on a piece of paper, they're importing their modern etymology to the text, and I don't think that's fair. As a matter of fact, I think we even have historical evidences that people before Galileo and stuff like that believed that the world was spherical. Um, as a matter of fact, we even see throughout Scripture where the word well, for those who not who don't know, the word circle in Hebrew is, I think it's pronounced kug, and it's spelled Chugg.
Yeah, it looks like it's spelled in a sense like a chug kind of thing, except with a
Right,
W.
right, right. Yeah, it would look like in the English. See, and that's another example right there. See, in the English, we would probably pronounce it chug, but in the Hebrew, it's pronounced kug, right? And
Mm.
so the circle part is coming from Isaiah 40 verse 22. You know, and there are other scriptures where the translators thought it proper to translate the word. There's another word, I think, tabith, which means ring. So if the circle is a ring or a flat disc, uh, why isn't that mentioned? I mean, I just don't see a good argument for it. As a matter of fact, even the Hebrew word for ball, I think, is dur. But even that, I mean, even if we go in that route, I mean, again, we're talking about something that's drawn on a piece of paper, or 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 we're talking about a sphere. So I don't. In conclusion, let me just say it this way: I don't think the word circle can be used to describe a flat disk. Uh, I think that's a little bit of a stretch, and it's also importing the modern etymology into the text, which I don't think is fair. So,
All right. Before we go into our uh, fun round, we're going to ask three fun questions for VekL. I got a question. So you plan on making more episodes of 12, right?
yep, I'm working on it right now.
Do
Episode
you,
10.
all right. So is it just mainly you, or do you have any other people helping you out with your show?
Yeah, actually, it's funny you asked because I'm actually looking for. I need more voices for the next episode. I can only do so many voices before people get tired of hearing, oh, that's VekL playing this character. That's this VekL playing that character. Uh,
So how would
yeah.
they do that? How would they? What equipment would you say they would need? Is there any way that? How would they, be able to join in on this?
Yeah, one of the best and easiest ways to do it is to, get with me on Skype. I have a program where I can record conversations,
Hmm.
and for the most part, I've done it with a couple people, and it sounded great. But if you don't have Skype, you could just, if you have a good mic, listen to it before you send me the clip. If you don't have a mic, you have a video camera, that'll work too. I've had people do it that way as well. Send me they recorded themselves, but just sent me just the audio part of the video. So that works too. So any way you can record your voice is fine, as long as it's has a crisp sound to it. And
Because I want to ask, this might sound pathetic and might be Stephen Colbert of me, but what if I were to use this little iPhone microphone, and this is the same one I use when I did music covers and posted them, uh, and apparently that got people uh, to say that they wanted me to be the voice for some of the video game characters they would do, and at least some of the Google Plus people on here. But if I wanted to join the VekL 12 project, would I need to? Is it okay for me to record this and email it to VekL at awesomevekl.com?
oh yeah, it's fine. As long, like I said, as long as it's the audio is is crisp. I trust with. If somebody can do it with an old camera that they did like maybe 3 years ago, I'm sure with these phones here, the sound will be just fine.
All right,
As a matter
so
of fact, I've had people do that too. They've recorded it on various different devices, and for the most part, I was able to use them. So
all right,
even
so
sometimes with the recordings, with a little bit of a hum in the background, like what we're hearing right now, if you pay close attention, you can hear that little bit of. You hear that, right? You hear that?
hold on, let me up my volume up a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear it.
Yeah, you hear that. See, even with something like that, I can deal with that because there'll be most likely music in the background or other sounds that'll kind of drown out that sound.
All
So
right,
people will be by default, the audience will be listening to the voice rather than to other sounds in the background.
all right then. So if anyone wants to try, talk to VekL. Make sure if you who are pre-recorded, make sure that the audio is crisp and clean. Make sure that you bring your awesome voice to the game. Okay.
Oh, and for those who want to send me the sound, you can either send it to me through Skype or you could. I don't know if you can email me here. Uh, but you can email. My email address is VekL2 at yahoo.com.
All right. VekL2 at yahoo.com, or you can send it to Skype.
Yeah.
All right. So let us begin the game of questions. The first, hold on a second. I need to get my Google Effects thing because we're going to try to make this as much ridiculous and immature as possible. But hey, we're supposed to be, like children in Christ. Am I right? All
Yeah.
right. So let's get this started. VekL,
All
which
right.
dogs do you prefer, corn or hot?
Definitely hot. I
All
don't
right.
like corn dogs.
All right. So VekL likes hot dogs. All right. Second round. If you had one word to describe the Hebrew Israelites, what would that word be?
Man-centered.
Man-centered. Let's give a round of applause for that one. All right. Now the final question. I need a drum roll for this one. Hold on a second. Christopher Mouty, drum roll. Okay, if you had a chance to live in a room and you had to do this for a week, and the only roommates that you had to choose from are Matt Dillahunty or Aaron Ra, which would you have to choose out of the two?
Definitely Matt Dillahunty.
All right, definitely Matt Dillahunty. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the game, and what VekL has just won, he has just won $50,000 in cash from an unknown source, and it's been transferred to his account. VekL, if the cops show up, just tell them you don't know anything.
Oh man, that's all right. I'll try to remember that then.
All right,
Ah.
so while we still have some time, let's have a casual chat on. For me, because you definitely do seem. I've looked at a. When was it since you made your last? Uh, what's it? 12 episode. I remember the last one you did was episode 8, where it shows more about the Antichrist that's portrayed in the series. But how long has it been since that episode?
Yeah, I just posted. What was it back in March? I posted episode 9. Which well, I don't want to. Well, for those of you, if people are familiar with the Bible, I mean, you can kind of figure out ahead of time what's going to happen. So, I mean, for those of you who know the Bible, you pretty much already know what's going to happen. But in episode 9, it's more about let's see. Well, in Daniel chapter 7, I believe it is. I always forget which chapter it is, but he talks about the little horn that plucks out the 3 other horns, because there's 10 horns, but then 3 of them are plucked out, and then by the one horn, and that one horn ends up becoming ruler of the world, basically. So that's pretty much what you see in this episode. Uh, what else? Yeah, there's the 12 characters are on their way to the airport, and the leader tells them that not all of them are going to make it to the airport. So doesn't really know what that means, but he's just telling them that not all of them are going to make it. So apparently some of them are going to die, but we don't know yet until the next episode. Um,
The suspense.
yes, yeah.
I have a question concerning the title and the episodes. Is it going to be one of those fancy things where if it's 12, the name of the show is 12, or is there only going to be 12 episodes, or is there going to be planned on being more than that?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's 12 episodes. And the reason why I named it 12 is because the number you see, number 12, kind of like the Easter egg thing in all the episodes. There's 12 episodes. There's 12 people in the group. When Gregory was anointed by God, he was age 12. Um, there's one more 12 thing in there too. I can't remember where. But anyway, oh yeah, and it's 12 hours. The whole story is 12 hours before the return of Christ. So
And apparently, a lot can happen in 12 hours, I guess. You
yeah.
got to, like, so many of these things, there would definitely a whole lot of interesting stuff happening.
And what's happening during the 12 hours? There's flashbacks with to events that occurred up until prior to the 12 hours. So
Oh, yeah. So, you did say that one of the things that sort of inspired you, besides Street Fighter, the animation style also can be similar to anime. Is there any animes that you watch or used to watch?
oh yeah, there's Attack on Titan, the one about the giants. That one's pretty good.
Yes.
Everybody knows about Akira,
Oh
probably
yeah.
one of the cult classics there.
Hmm.
Uh, there's Ninja Scrolls, which is one I haven't seen in a long time. What's another one? I'm currently watching one called Sword Art Online,
Yes.
which
Yes.
seems to be pretty nice. I
Oh,
think
you.
I'm on episode 9 right now.
All right,
Uh,
episode 9 of the. Okay, so is it still the first season so far?
yeah, first season. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
first season. Yeah.
VekL, I've seen it, and that's basically what revived my interest in anime. And because I thought anime was dead until I saw this series. I'm just gonna say this without spoiling anything. You're gonna love it. This is probably the best animes I've seen, and even the second one that they're currently showing on Toonami is
Right.
what just was absolutely astonishing as well.
Right. But there's other styles too that I like too. If some of you are familiar with the game Heavenly Sword that came out for the PS3 a couple years ago, they actually have a little animated animation on there that you can watch on YouTube. I really love the art style in that too. So that's not anime, but it looks like that sort of Americanized anime sort of style.
Oh yeah, I mean I mean if it's a video game, most likely anime fans are gonna love it and do cosplay conventions of it too.
Oh yeah,
Speaking
yeah.
of which, I did do a thing where I went to an anime convention and actually did witness on the third day that I went there.
Oh nice.
What is your thoughts on that? I mean, because one of the things that I did was ask, can you be a fan of anime and still be a Christian? Some people have responded that this is you can't because some of the things they portray is not Christ-like and will distract you from your spiritual walk. But I met several Christians that were interesting. One of them said, I'm not religious, but I am Christian. And I'm like, I see what you did there. He was like explaining that it was more spiritual and that he doesn't want to follow the rules and just stay in the church. He wants to go out there and preach.
Hey, I'll be right back. I had a little bit of an emergency, but I'm not gonna stay long. But I'll be right back.
All right, I'm gonna try to do my best to distract the audience that's watching. There's only one viewer at the moment, apparently. Man, I gotta get some more viewers, but hey, we're taking a quick commercial break, but we will be right back. Has this ever happened to you? Well, I can tell you how you fix the problem. Oh, how you fix the problem? Well, it's simple. All you gotta do is you gotta have this thing called Patience! What is patience? Well, patience is waiting for something to come back or happen. So, for example, if you want your favorite television show to come back on during commercial break, such as what's going on right now, you can have patience to wait until the show returns so that you can enjoy watching without getting angry. Thus, it happens with patience. All right, now that's the end of the commercial, and we're gonna go back to the regular show because hopefully you people had patience. Okay, hold on a second. And we are back. That was a weird, awkward, and unorthodox commercial break that I just decided to make. VekL is currently right now on the wait. He had to go take care of something. He's BRB, AFK, whatever you want to call it. So we're just waiting, and I'm trying to occupy the time so that people like whoever's watching doesn't happen to get bored. Let's see here. Oh yeah. Also, let me see if this is really happening. Yes. I don't know if the actual debate is going on, but apparently there is a debate between Juranism and Redline that was supposed to go on the I'm Right, You're Wrong show. And apparently some of the things have been that Juranism didn't show up. So if anyone wants to check that out, check out the I'm Right, You're Wrong show on the YouTube channel. And we're still waiting on VekL. Da 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 da. If anybody does have any questions, put them in the comments, and I'll try to ask them for you. So just put them in the comments, and we'll get the whole thing set up.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that.
Welcome back. Okay, so okay, I just now realized something. While we do because you've seen some of my the avatar I use, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I use that with something from Ren Maru games. It's a thing you'd be able to dress up the character. So
Oh,
for,
okay.
for the rest of this, we're using the chibi version of that. And here we go. Isn't he awesome?
Yes, I like it very much.
Thank you. So, yeah, you said you liked Heavenly Sword. Oh, yeah, it was the anime convention I was talking about. Well, I mean, what do you think? Do you think that some of these Christians that say it's
Oh, yeah.
not good as, do you think they're right, or do you think some of these Christians that like anime are in the right?
Well, Paul says in Corinthians, everything is lawful, but not all things are expedient. So in this case here, I do think there's nothing wrong with Christians looking at anime or even drawing anime. However, they have to know the limits so that they don't compromise the faith. For instance, yeah, one of the things that we see a lot in anime is, a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Exaggerated images
Sex?
of women with big boobs and stuff like
Yes.
that, and there's a lot of sexual innuendos and stuff like that. I think Christians can embrace anime without that aspect of it.
Yeah,
So, I mean,
one of the people I interviewed said,
yeah,
you see this stuff, but you don't act upon it. You learn to resist it and, turn away from it and know that it's not right what some of the stuff is going on in it.
right.
So you agree with him on that?
Yeah, just if you're gonna watch a cartoon that's primarily focused on sexual innuendos and stuff like that, then I think I would just say stay away from that, especially if you're weak in that area. If that's a sin that you have a problem with, you should definitely stay away from it. But the anime in and of itself, just the drawing, just the art, I don't see a problem with it. I mean, even to be honest with you, and this is probably going to be controversial between me and other Christians, but I don't even see a problem with just, you know, if you're looking at a nude person, I don't think that in and of itself is a sin. Jesus
Right.
says if you look at a person with lust, now that's a sin. So I
Right.
can look at a naked woman if I'm trying to draw, like I used to do in college. As a matter of fact, we had a nude person come in, and we weren't sitting there, salivating, looking at her, uh, though she was pretty. But none of her, we didn't look at her in a lustful sense. We looked at her
Right.
in the sense that we wanted to draw the human anatomy, and I think Christians won't be in sin by doing that either, as long as we're not, practicing idolatry or adultery.
Yeah, I mean, I had to share our hotel room. We had to share it with several guys, several girls. It was pretty much a 50-50 on how many was there. Um, but every time the girls were changing, some of them, of course, would go to the bathroom because they didn't want to necessarily be seen. But then there was a couple of them that were bold and didn't care because
Right.
we've all been friends. And to me, it didn't care. One of them actually, tried uh, teasing, like, pointed out to this girl, Luna. She was like the one. She was like one of those people that would say, it was the one black chick or one black friend out of the entire uh, friend thing. Like, so she sometimes felt out, but I don't know. She was like, she always was very good and very awesome and friendly. Like, but at some point during the trip, they kept on saying, "Why don't you two get a room?" Because apparently the beds were out. We only had one air mattress, and apparently it was going to be me and her sharing the air mattress until problem with fixed. So those things were going around, and I'm just like, nah. And I'm looking at her. I'm like, just looking up and down, like, nah. I'm good. I'm good. I'm walking away.
Right. Right.
Yeah, because I mean, it's just you're having fun with it, even though sometimes they try to have fun with you with the same kind of thing. I mean, to me, nothing wrong with looking at someone naked unless you think, oh, this
Right.
is awesome. Like, I I almost tried to go for a nudist philosophy at one point. I'm like, well, Adam and Eve tried this back then. Let me try seeing how that feels. And the question was actually proposed in English class. What was the name? Gulliver's Travels. The main character Gulliver uh, asked. He was in court and he was asking, why don't we become naked like God had created us? And they were like, because it's just vile and it's inappropriate and rude. So I don't know. It was just an interesting thing to think about, and I just don't really think lustful of it. I mean, to be honest, they can show that stuff in the magazines, but I don't know if real life is going to be what you expect it to be in the magazines. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
All
Yeah,
right.
it's kind of like, well, I mean, trying to use another example other than one I want to think of. Well, we look at the rainbow, for example. I mean, we look at the rainbow, and the first thing that comes to our minds now is homosexuality. But
Yeah.
before then, it was something you see in preschool, and then even before that, it was a symbol of the covenant that God made with Noah. So people can look at these different things and have different perspectives on what it is that we're looking at. And it's the same thing with nudity. You don't have to look at a woman in a nude and have these lustful thoughts. I mean, you can. I mean, if you do, then you're in sin. But if you're looking at it only for artistic purposes, you're not doing it out of lust. Then I don't see God holding you accountable for that. But God knows your heart. He knows who's really doing it for that purpose and who's doing it for another purpose.
Right. All right. So yeah, we've so far we've had a good discussion on anime and how Christians behave in that sense, and we've discovered the topic of nudity was able to be discovered among brother Christians. So I think so far this is going to be proving to be quite the unorthodox Christian show.
Right, right. Yeah.
So besides 12, I mean, I've seen you've also done hangouts. Do you plan on doing any more of these hangouts in the future?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I have a series of hangouts called "Thank God for Atheism," and I stopped at 10. And basically, what they were is they were just hangouts, just discussing the typical atheist arguments against Christianity, against the Bible. And I've been thinking lately that I want to kind of restart doing those hangouts again, where we just tackle, we get Christians and atheists in a hangout, and we just cover just the one topic about, okay, like for instance, one of the hangouts I did was about Judges 19, where the man had his daughter given to these horny men, and they actually, no, it wasn't his daughter, it was one of his concubines.
Yeah, and then they cut him up, right?
They raped her, and then yeah. So the debate was whether or not he actually killed her and then cut her up, or if she was already dead before he cut her up. And that's one of the things I talk about in the hangout. So I talk about those kinds of things. The atheist will assert that God actually gave him permission to do that, and that's what I refute in hangouts like that. And
Right.
and I want to do that again, called "Thank God for Atheism."
Yeah, because atheists don't give that much good explanations for some of their convictions, and that's sort of the reason why I don't try to focus too much on my position as an evolutionary creationist. I try not to focus on too much the science topic. I just come here to preach uh, the gospel of Jesus Christ. I'm not going to assert certain personal views such as cessationism, evolutionary creationism, and all these different views. I don't believe there's salvation issues, but I do believe if you don't believe in Jesus Christ, the Son of God, then that's a problem. I think you need to hear the good news and need to be saved, and you need to accept them. And so that's what I focus on. But when it comes to certain atheist arguments, when I hear the term evolution from the atheist perspective, to me it just doesn't make any sense. And the early arguments for evolution, like with John Baptiste Lamarck, said that if you don't have God in the mix, then evolution is impossible. And this Lamarck character came way before Darwin did.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm pretty much the same too, especially when it comes to evolution and creation. I'm usually in the background just kind of listening to people, go back and forth because it's not an area that I'm really passionate in. But I do like listening to people talk about it. It's just, and as far as my position on evolution, I just don't see any evidence of it. I don't believe it. But I'm still open to hearing different perspectives on it.
Like I did, the only time I really decided to do a debate about it, and that was twice. One was with a guy who was a young Earth creationist, but he was very biblical, and I actually respected him. But then the first round was with what's his name? Oh yeah, Pillbox.
Oh, yeah.
That was our first debate, and he pretty much, he was upset that we weren't doing science as evidence or arguments. I was like, I only want to focus on theology. I could care less about science. Because he's like, yeah, you accept pseudoscience because, you're a pseudoscientist and you preach pseudoscience. I'm like, I don't even know anything about science that much, to be honest. I'm just going by my observations and what I base my theology on. And so far, my convictions has led me to this position. Yours has led you to this. But I don't think that's a reason for us to fight and say and condemn each other. I think that we're both good brothers and sisters in Christ. I think we need to just focus on what we share in similarities and focus less on what separates us in the sense of doctrine and minor doctrines that aren't that important and when it comes to salvation.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Especially when it comes to the evolution thing, that the reason why I kind of sit back on this because I don't know if I'm fully convinced it's an essential. I'm still not convinced that it's an essential. I do think a Christian can believe in evolution and still be saved. Uh, However, I just see personally, I see a lot of problems between the two.
Right.
But I don't think it's an essential. So just like the Calvinist and Arminian position, I just don't see either side being essential. Do I believe that the Arminian position is incorrect? Yes, I do wholeheartedly, because I don't believe that God tries to save people. I think he either saves people and he doesn't save people. It's simple as that. He doesn't try to do anything. But do I believe that the Arminian is not saved because he believes in free will? No, I do believe that because they believe in the essentials just as much as I do.
Right.
So,
Make sure you eat your essentials, kids. And there again, there I go with the joke, because we have to be children of God. There,
you
that's probably what.
yeah, that sounds like it could be a cereal or something. Part of this nutritious breakfast.
Yep. Of course, then you had a YouTuber Eve Real making cereal and making fun of people like G-Man and all them people.
Yeah. Oh
Speaking
yeah.
of which, man, I hope G-Man comes back after his break. And I know he uh, said he was taking a break because some of the stuff is stressing out in his life, and plus, from what I heard, he didn't like what he was starting to become on YouTube. Apparently,
Hmm. Yeah, G-Man is even before he took his went on break. I actually saw a growth in him. It was a slow process, but it was still growing. And that's one of the benefits of getting online and meeting different people is because you get to see areas where people get to see things about you that need change.
hmm
And it's kind of like a friend of mine told me when you meet a new girl, make sure that your friends like her because it's too easy for you to be head over heels for this new girl because she's so pretty and she seems to be meeting all of your desires physically, but because you're so blinded by her beauty and everything else, you don't get to see the other things that your friends will see. So your friends will get to see because they're on the outside of the relationship. They'll get to see more about her than you will because you're blinded by what you see on the surface. And I believe that's a strong and great philosophy that everybody should take on. If you meet somebody new, you're a man about to meet a girl or vice versa, make sure your friends get to know her or him,
right.
close friends. So I've always lived by that philosophy ever since he told me that, and that's a good thing I think.
All right. Thanks for that, man. And thanks for the advice for everybody else. I mean, we got 4 viewers, but there's probably going to be more when they decide to watch it offline and off air. Um, One more question before we wrap things up, because I remember this was brought up at some point concerning you. Someone said that when they were in a room with you, uh, you seemed like a very rational, very reasonable, and very intellectual Christian. And I think this person was even a skeptic too.
Well, intellectual, that's debatable, but um,
But
I
they
try
did.
to
Go ahead.
yeah, I try to be as rational as I possibly can, even if I disagree with the people. The only people I don't even try to bother to be rational with are people who are just coming into this discussions, guns blazing, and acting like a troll. I don't even, all rationality just goes out the window with me there because it's apparent to me that people like this, they're not taking this conversation seriously. They're not really trying to seek truth or even offer truth. They just want to argue and be contentious. So it's people like that I don't really give any type of respect to.
Right.
But for the most part, I'm willing to accept any type of correction. And I'm always talking about how King Hezekiah behaved in Isaiah chapter 37. So,
Right. But then the same person said in that same hangout, then G-Man shows up, and then you, as soon as he showed up, your character switched from rational Christian to, and I quote, uh, butthole.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so was there like any truth to this statement, or do you think?
There might be because the Bible says bad company corrupts good company or something like that. Not to say that G-Man is bad company, but uh, I do I will agree that to a degree that is the case. However, um, it it may seem like that to that individual as well because if G-Man comes into the hangout and G-Man is saying stuff to the atheists, and the atheists are responding back to him and saying ridiculous stuff about Christianity because they're angry at what G-Man said, then I might behave differently because of what that person said. So it may seem on the surface that that's the case because G-Man's there. Now all of a sudden I'm going to act a fool. So I don't think that's the case though, because sometimes I don't even say anything while G-Man is just going full G-Man. Sometimes I just sit there and I'll say something, but that's usually what the case is. I'm in the hangout talking to the person. G-Man comes in, he's being G-Man. The person responds to what G-Man says, and they say something stupid or trollish about Christianity, and then when I hear that, then I respond in a way that they may address me as a butthole. But yeah.
All right, well, VekL, thanks for coming on to the show. That is all the time we have for diving into the mind of. But until then, this is the usual Christian anarchist greeting and ending. Shalom Aleichem. Peace be upon you, because I wish that upon you.